Law, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really well, thank you. And
Good week.
How is life with you?
Oh, you could say it's pretty busy and lots of stuff going on outside of work at the moment, which is very testing. And it's bringing all my resolve in to look after myself and remember that I may no longer be a parent, but I'm certainly am a carer. So how the tables have turned, eh, Law?
Oh, I know, Debs. And this is what we wanted to bring into our current 4-part mini-series looking at working parents making the balance work, the realities of what it takes behind the scenes, just even to arrive at a meeting at 9 a.m, vaguely prepared and in the right mindset to smash the professional persona. And I'm sure at some point we'll be doing a focus, Debs, on elder care upwards when you're looking at caring the generation above. Because that is very real in current workplaces for sure, and very much something that a team, including yourself obviously, is kind of navigating at the moment. The focus of this has been, what actually does it take? What is going to enable us to thrive when you are a working parent? So whether you are a brand new parent and you're returning into work, whether you're working with a colleague for someone who is juggling that kind of childcare bit, and where the first episode we looked at the identity shift. Who am I now? So getting your head around the idea of being a working parent. This second episode is looking at, well, what are some psychological and practical things that can help us navigate that shift between colleague and parent, work and at home and back to work again. So, Debs, what we just loved about this whole, when we were thinking about planning this mini-series, is we don't have to do a Google search to find out lots of data.
No.
Because your kind of passion side hustle for years now has been working as a parent coach. And I know many organisations have used you to help people that are about to go off on parental leave get their head around that and make those steps back in. So I'd love to get your thoughts from the kind of real thousands of listening hours that you've had in this realm. What are some of the main conversation themes that you have seen emerge when people are getting their head round preparing to come back to work, having had a child?
And also don't forget, Law, we are going to be hearing from some of our listeners about their challenges, aren't they? They've answered us some questions, and they brick up on this topic completely. So I think you mentioned the juggling identities is a big one, as you said, but I think there's also guilt plays a massive part in every direction as people are going. It feels like there's pressure at home, at work. So it's how do people navigate that? And I think also there's a lot around being visible in the workspace. So how do parents returning to work prove they're committed to the work? There's a fear of judgment that goes on with some of them as well, because they may not be equipped or think that everybody thinks they don't know what they don't know. And it's just a minefield, that one. And obviously the life work emotional collisions that can happen. So if you get that, if your child's in nursery and you get that call that says they've thrown up, we need you to come and get them. Wow, how do you navigate that if you're about to walk into a board meeting? And I think also the divided attention is a big one that comes on, because how do you give everybody, as people often say to me, your time? And the one person I think you forget about is you as the parent. What about your time? So it's like, but I've got this colleague, that colleague, work, all of that. And then obviously it does impact on the household, the couple dynamic as well, and what's going on in the house. So there's loads of things that people will have going on in their heads sometimes that they will download as they're going back in, from that colleague to parent, but back to parent to colleague. So, it's fascinating.
And I think, as you said, we're going to be interspersing it with snippets from real life voices from a wide variety of experiences and demographics and geographies. So to get because having babies is a worldwide thing, and not everyone might directly be involved in the process of having children. But as a society, it's part of what creates a society. And interestingly, Debs, let me read out to you a recent stat that I picked up. So I just picked up on my internet homepage news, but they have to kind of fact check, I get. But London's total fertility rate is sitting at the lowest that it has really for a long, long time. And it's fallen by about 20%
Wow.
compared to a decade ago. So the demographic shift is really seen in terms of we're having less babies, and also the age of the mother is increasing as well. So the highest birth rate for women is in that range of being aged 40 to 44. So we've definitely seen
Wow.
a shift
Yeah.
in how many babies people are having, who's having them, and the very real challenge of how do you navigate an ever-evolving world of work
Yes.
when you've then got other life stuff that's then happening. And as you were talking about problem solving and kind of, decision making, you've got a screaming baby who you've got to suddenly change quickly, but you've also got to send that email in the next 5 minutes, hit a deadline.
Yeah.
What comes first?
Yeah, exactly. I know what does come first. And I think that's why parents do feel a little bit of a pressure to prove themselves in the workplace. Because I suppose it's like that, as we said earlier, the visibility and commitment. It's a bit of an unspoken workplace narrative that does come up where you've got a child now, so you may not give as much as you did beforehand. Parents, whether a parent, you're still very capable. You are still super driven. You're probably more reliable than you have ever been because now you're responsible for a little one that you've also got who's relying on you. And you're actually still promotable because you've got the skills. Just because you've had a baby, whether you've adopted a baby, a new baby, whatever, it's still you. You still have great skills that are really being able to promote you if that's what you want. You are able to do both. It's just the framework changes, the routine changes, but it doesn't mean you're not a good employee or a colleague or something like that.
So Debs, how I would summarise what you've just said, which I loved the bit about how you still got all of those skills, is the skills stack up. You're adding to your skill stack.
Absolutely.
You're not depleting one to favour than the other. It's adding on to them. It's a bit like I never went on to have a second child, but
no, not me.
No,
One was enough.
I know, but it's when I inherited a stepchild, which was gorgeous.
Oh,
gorgeous.
That's nice. You did have to go through the pain.
No, I got him when he was 5, so it was brilliant. I've just got the cutest here. But the when you hear people that have gone on to have a second or a third child, just saying you just get more love.
Yeah.
You don't only love the first one and then you run out of love for the second and the subsequent ones. You get more love. And I think the same is with skills. You get more skills. You don't suddenly lose the ability to type because you've learned how to change a nappy. It's tiring because your brain is having to learn so much.
Yeah.
And then, so it's the skill stack. So let's hear from a couple of different voices sharing their experiences, particularly when you're navigating that shift between work and home.
Okay.
Returning to work feels like you are taking a big step into a new world. It feels like you've been in a bit of a fog, dealing with baby talk and crawling. And so I remember the first meeting I had to go to, I was so nervous and I kept saying in the meeting, like, hey guys, sorry, I still have mom brain. I may not be as sharp. And I almost said it to kind of be a cover in case I didn't feel like, my answers were good enough. And I remember kind of killing it in the meeting and they all looked at me and said, are you sure you still have mom brain? And I kind of laughed and realized, it's all there. It's all still there. That part of me didn't go away. And it's like once you step back in, you shake off the cobwebs and you're there and you're sharper and sometimes even better than you were before because you've had to manage just such a huge amount of information and stress and, just responsibility. And, you have more, I guess, bandwidth than you think.
Returning to work felt exciting and a return to my quote unquote old life, but also it was nerve-wracking having been away for over a year. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to balance the nursery pickups, the commutes and my workload, and how I'd be welcomed back into the team. But I found that with the right support from my line manager and my colleagues was really key to easing me through the transition.
Debs, what always sticks out when we, when you have that chance to be able to listen in and people share their stuff. We're so grateful to all those people that shared their voice notes. It's just everyone's everyone's story is different, but there are some kind of common themes. And what I'd love to hear from you, from your perspective, from your parent coach aspect, is what are some of the emotional changes that happens when someone becomes a working parent? And can I just share something with you?
Go on then.
So I remember going to this emotional intelligence conference that was, probably about 15 years ago, I reckon. And no, it must have been about 13 and a half years ago, because I had just found out I was pregnant.
Right.
And so I was very interested in pregnancy and, spotting all the other people in the room that are, and, not eating the pate and all that kind of stuff. No pate for breakfast. No. And I was at this emotional intelligence conference, and I asked the panel, what research is there that shows the impact becoming a parent has on your levels of emotional intelligence, emotional literacy?
Great question, Laura.
And all the men on the panel all kind of just sort of sat there and went, no, there isn't any research. No, we haven't sort of looked into it. And I remember thinking, wow, that's mad, because already I feel different about life and communicate with people, even though at that point I was just newly pregnant. But Debs, I'd love to know from your perspective, even though there might not be any hard research that's out there, what have you seen as some of the typical emotional changes people go through the process of being a working parent?
Yeah, I mean, and there is a lot. That's a great example that you've used there. And I think that says a lot as people not thinking from the position of the mother figure in that, and that hierarchical, that old school, whatever you want to call it, hunter-gatherer, whatever. It's still ingrained in there somewhere. But emotionally, I think, as you alluded to like earlier with the skill set, our emotions become more layered, because we are, we're not just managing our work or relationships or responsibilities, where we are carrying that emotional responsibility of another little human being. And as you quite rightly said, that can create a much deeper love going on for somebody, a much better, greater perspective on what's going on in the world as well as what's round. I think a lot of parents that I speak to, they suddenly have a very different outlook on a purpose. What is their purpose now? Because it does shift. And talking to them about that, it's just fascinating to understand. But I think also there can be, on the flip side of that, there can be heightened anxiety that goes on with people. There can be that emotional overwhelm, guilt comes into it a lot, as we said, exhaustion, which we've mentioned. But actually what happens is, I think most people become more aware of the fact that time, what does that look like for them? Energy, have they got it? Have they not got it? Where their priorities lie. So as you said, if I have to go and pick my child up, I'm going to go and pick my child up. And also I think that links into, therefore, what truly matters to them now. And it can be a real tension between wanting to be fully present at work, but also wanting to be fully present at home. And I think, working parents, often means that you're holding on to the love, the pressure, the gratitude and exhaustion all at the same time, which is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just going through my mind when you were sharing your brilliant points just there, Debs, is I know of 3 women at the moment in various clients who are sort of secretly pregnant. So in those kind of early days.
Wow.
And actually to be able to just have it, I just remember exactly what I was like. You're kind of rabbit in the headlights going, right, this kind of unplanned or amazing or whatever it is, like, whoo, big news. And you're kind of carrying this secret. And then, it's sort of like, what does this mean kind of now? And I think it's so reassuring, Debs, when you chat with someone. I remember how absolutely reassuring it was chatting with you, chatting with our team around, okay, you're the other side of it and you look all right. Like, any tips? And just to hear real people's stories of, it's tough, but wow, you wouldn't have it, it
you wouldn't have it any other way.
No, and it adds so much to your life. And of course, not every story is going to be straightforward and easy. There's going to be setbacks and challenges, and that's what just makes it such a heady time of your life, because it's full of highs and lows, and everyone's heard stories and and in fact only the other day we had a colleague of ours, didn't we, saying how everyone, all the people that had already been to the hospital and had their kids, just keep quiet.
exactly.
Before everyone is through.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just don't share that story.
Just enjoy the baby shower, and then we'll just chat after. Yeah,
exactly. Once you've had the baby, then let's talk. Yeah.
I know on our next one, we're going to be focusing particularly on the process of actually kind of returning to work.
Yes.
What I'd love to hear your thoughts, because, who knows who it might reassure, is I remember when I was off on my maternity leave, and, I imagine it only happens, once, in that first maternity leave, if either that's your only child you have, or from that point on, you're going to have other little ones to care for when you want to on parental leave, is the weird sensation of being able to not do anything. Like, actually, there's nothing to do, because you've ended your sort of work bit. You're off on mat leave or parental leave. Everyone is very respectful of that. And you sort of go off into the wilderness, the equivalent of going off into the forest to give birth,
Yeah, exactly.
from the wilderness. So what are some things that you have seen have helped people gear up for the getting ready to shift and leave?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that on our next one, because there's so much we could cover on that. Because I think we need to think about, it's not whether parents can do it all. It's whether people feel supported enough to believe that they stop believing they have to keep doing too much. And I think that's what's really people. We don't need fixing as people. We just need to create the environment where people feel like they're not having to, have to prove their worth constantly. And I think it's that you are the same person, but you are different because of the experience you're going through. And I suppose my call to action for this series would be, or this pod would be, what's one expectation that you could let go of that's adding pressure rather than helping you? Because we all have them.
Oh, I love that, Debs. And actually, just kind of to put in a little addition there around what assumptions that potentially are out there exist about someone's level of ambition potentially dropping after they've had this kind of new acquisition in their kind of in their family circle. And I think that's a really interesting call to action, Debs, because what am I holding on to that actually isn't serving me?
Yeah.
So I can then free up still that energy and that ambition that's in your professional persona.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really interesting to hear from a couple of voices around that ambition bit. And then we can then do a share the secret.
The biggest assumption I had was that my ambitions before children would be the same after children. And they changed, and it shocked me. And they changed in a lot of ways. And some things were, I wanted bigger and more. And I was kind of like, hey, I played it too safe and I should take up space. And I'm this, amazing being that just carried children and, sustained them all these months. And so I'm more capable than I think. And then some things I realized they were ambitions for ego prior to having my children. And once I had my kids, it kind of healed something in me in that area of kind of needing play to that ego and play to that area of my life where there might have been insecurity and thinking, I want to be seen. I want to be, special, quote unquote. And after I had children, I just thought, God, I'm phenomenal. And they're phenomenal. And this is such an amazing, cool experience. And so I definitely became more ambitious, but just in different areas. I was more ambitious to kind of be the more truer version of myself and to live loudly and unapologetic and to do the things that I really wanted to do instead of doing what I thought society wanted me to do.
I think there is an assumption that when you come back, that everyone's going to want to do part-time, and that you are going to be less reliable, maybe less available. There certainly is a need to be more flexible with regards to somebody having children, because particularly if you are a single parent, there may be times when you simply have to prioritise your child over your work. But I think assuming that actually a woman or even a man now come back and not be able to slot back into what they were doing previously is really outdated. In fact, I think sometimes you're even better at what you were doing because you bring new skills, new experience, and also a kind of contentment, maybe, happiness around now being a parent. That is not to say it isn't hard at times, particularly when they're ill 2 or 3 times a month. That can be particularly stressful.
So Debs, picking up on your brilliant call to action, and we've just heard some other perspectives around navigating that shift between work and home and back to work again, and navigating the juggle between that. I think my share the secret would be, if you know someone who is in the early stages of pregnancy, and or their partner or someone for whom this is a live topic, get them to listen to this, because in the old days, Debs, we would have had a village around us.
Absolutely.
To chat and exchange and give all those words of comfort and reassurance. If you're the only one getting on a tube carriage that morning, getting on a bus, driving on the motorway, commuting, or logging onto a call, and it's only you and your partner that knows the news, it can feel quite lonely and isolating.
Yeah, true.
And if you're not in an environment where there are lots of people to kind of share thoughts and sort of reassurances with, that's exactly why we want to create this 4-part focus on what is the reality behind the scenes in terms of working parents and making the balance work. So get a mate to listen to this, and then they know they're not alone. And at some point, they'll be able to, I don't know, appear as a voice note sharing some wisdom on a podcast in the future.
Who knows, Law? There's always a story to tell.
Always a story to tell.
I love that. And I look forward to talking next, on our next one about that returning, parents coming back into the workplace, what people need to consider maybe and think about. So it's an easy ride back in rather than a troublesome one. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, love that, Debs. Oh, do you know, still, I'm so grateful for you giving me that phrase, effortless presence, which was your sentence at the start of your intention for the start of this year. Was it last year or
last
this year?
No, it was last year. Well, and I'm still holding on to it.
Me too, Debs.
Yeah, it's still there. That's my mantra.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So where I used to have stop dicking about and crack on written as my hashtags on my just whipping myself on my weekly calendar, I a couple of times have gone effortless presence.
Nice.
Just as a calmer kind of way.
Exactly. Yes. Because you're, you also, don't forget, even though we work for ourselves, you're a colleague, you're a parent, and you're a colleague, and you go to work and you still do stuff, and you be at home. So we're all experiencing it in some way or another. So effortless presence. Effortless presence.
And always bring baby wipes with you.
Absolutely. I still have them in my bag, actually, just in case.
Yeah. Don't need the box of raisins anymore.
No.
Baby wipes.
I love that. Oh, I look forward to next week,
Oh, yeah.
Law.
Can't wait, Debs. Oh, have a fab week.
And
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at contact@secretsfromacoach.com or follow us on Insta or Facebook. If you're a Spotify listener, give us a rating, as it's easier for people to find us. And if you want to know more, visit our website, www.secretsfromacoach.com, and sign up for our newsletter. Here to cheer you on and help you thrive in the ever-changing world of work.